All right, we are all set.
Okay, well, I want to welcome, my name is Kristen Meyer. I'm with the Maumee Chamber of Commerce, and I'd like to welcome everyone to this town hall meeting. The discussion for today is business restart guidance for Lucas County. We have several experts on the call today to answer questions and present everybody with information. But before we introduce them, we want to recognize the Chambers of Commerce who have come together to bring you this town hall meeting. The Anthony Wayne Chamber, Holland-Springfield Chamber, Northwest Ohio Hispanic Chamber, the Waterville Chamber, Maumee Chamber, Sylvania Chamber, Eastern Maumee Bay Chamber, and Toledo African American Chamber have all come together to bring you this virtual town hall meeting. So thank you to everyone involved in all those chambers. I'd like to introduce to you the three experts that we have on the call today. The first one is Benjamin Pushka. He's the Executive Assistant to Lucas County Commissioner and President Tina Skeldon Wozniak. And since this pandemic began, Benjamin is the Emergency Operations Center's liaison to the business community, churches, nonprofits, and school communities, as well as the coordinator of the Isolation and Quarantine Shelter for First Responders, frontline staff, and the Unhoused, and the Congregate Housing Coordinator for First Responders. Sounds like you have a lot of jobs going on right now, Benjamin. Thank you for being here.
Like everybody else, juggling a lot of different balls these times. So.
Well, I'm going to also introduce Brandon Palinski, Planning and Quality Improvement Administrator with the Toledo-Lucas County Health Department, and he holds a Master's of Public Health degree. So Brandon is on the call with us today. Thank you. Also, we have Jody Vaughn, Supervisor Food Safety Division for the Toledo-Lucas County Health Department, and she is a registered sanitarian. So we have three really qualified and great experts on the call, and I'm going to send it off to them.
Brandon, do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
Why don't you go first?
Okay. As Kristen said, excuse me, my name is Ben Pushka. Kind of help the liaison out to the business community, nonprofit world, and what have you. So a couple of things that I will send out to your various directors, because I'll probably just cover a couple of things here with links that then they can share out to their community. Some of them, I was kind of looking through the various chambers sites already are on there, but I just want to make sure you guys have it as top of mind. I did check this week, the PPP, that Payment Protection Program, still has about $118 billion left in it. So if that's something that you were thinking about for your organization, it's about a third of what came out the second time around. You'll need to start getting in contact with your credit union, your banks. Those are where those loans are at. But I'll send out some information on that. The very beginning of this, we heard about that economic injury disaster loan emergency assistance, that $10,000 that you kind of do with what you want. At this point, those funds are just about all gone, and it's only open up to agricultural businesses, but I'll still send those links as well, just in case new funds come in or they recalculate that. That way you'll have those links. A new program that I just found out about this morning that, in fact, I haven't even had a chance to share it out to anybody else, is called the Ohio Manufacturing, Retooling, and Repurposing for Creating PPE. As you guys are reopening, there are a number of things that the government is asking of you to put in terms of like face shields or barriers, things like that. This is something that the state level has put together of Ohio manufacturers who are producing a variety of these things that you may need for your business, may have tough time getting a hold of. So it's essentially a website with various entities. So it has like hand sanitizers, has those sneeze shield guards, those kind of things. So I'll include that in. Another thing that is kind of fairly new is the Ohio Restaurant Promises. This is for more of your restaurants out there, of a program that you can essentially sign up to say that you will follow the rules put out by the government in terms of you're doing the best you can to ensure the safety of those who are coming in your doors. And so I'll send a link for those. There are also another, the pandemic unemployment assistance, that $600 that that came out of the CARES Act is go with your unemployment benefits. If you have staff that you have laid off, you can push that kind of information out. So this is that additional funding is just come online for the state of Ohio, as well as a program called Shared Work Ohio. This is a program that as you're reopening, maybe you're not ready to bring people back on full time, but you're concerned with them losing their unemployment benefits because they are working part-time. The Shared Work Ohio is a program where you can kind of split, where they're only working part-time and still able to maintain some portion of your unemployment benefits. Their goal is try to get back to people within a week. But so I don't know all the details on what they're asking you for you guys to do, but this is an opportunity as you're kind of slowly reopening to make sure that you're not yanking someone off of unemployment, but only offering them part-time work. So it's a great opportunity to kind of keep them in both worlds as you're kind of slowly reopening things back up. And if you're one of those entities who are looking for help, actually, Work Ready Lucas County is a great opportunity to kind of reach out and say, hey, we have these job openings. And so they're able to kind of connect people who are in that unemployed world right now, whose jobs may not be coming back. And so they connect you guys to people who are looking for jobs. So those are kind of the things that I'll push out to your various entities that they can then either link onto their website or push out to you guys directly. I'll let them kind of do what they want to do for their various chambers. So those are kind of what I have. I can talk a little more in depth, a little bit on some of these, but ultimately at the end of the day, you guys are your own best advocate, know your own best needs. So you guys need to kind of look and see which of these opportunities are the best fit for your organization and for your companies. So with that being said, I'll turn it over kind of to Brandon and Jody.
Hi, everybody. As mentioned, my name is Brandon Palinski. I do work with the Toledo-Lucas County Health Department, and I'd like to start by saying that we are vested in helping you safely reopen. As public health officials, we want to reduce and minimize the impact of COVID on our community, but that also comes back to minimizing the economic impact that you feel and making sure that consumers feel safe going to your establishment and have that trust by seeing what you've implemented, working with us to make sure it is the best practice and that you are meeting those minimum guidelines put out by the governor. So we can certainly touch on all the different industries. I will do kind of just a high-level overview, and then if you have specific questions, please feel free to ask. We are here for you to help you reopen and help everyone in our community get kind of back to a new normal. Jody Vaughn, who is our supervisor of the Food Safety Division, will be able to talk about what we're doing for restaurants and what the process looking forward with inspections and enforcement will look like. So we'll touch on all of that as we go through this call. As far as resources that are available, especially if you're just starting to open up, I'm going to share my screen. And can someone verify that you can see what I have up there now? Okay. So on the Toledo-Lucas County Health Department's website, we have a wealth of resources on our coronavirus information page. If you scroll down past the colorful zip code map and you get to our tabs down here, the business, employer, and employee information section is the one you're going to want to focus on right now. We have an entire guide under Lucas County Open for Business. I'm going to go there. And this contains links to a lot of the resources, the state resources, local resources, but it also gives you some of that high-level information that you're going to need as you open up your business. So how you might implement screening protocols for staff to make sure that they aren't coming in sick, or if they are, what do you do about it? What do you have to pay attention to and focus on, both from the standpoint of the health department, but also the standpoint of their confidence in coming to work and your consumers' confidence. So we have implement screening protocols. We have a section on personal protective equipment. Anywhere you see these little links, these link to other documents. So we link to a lot of resources. I'm going to scroll through. We have facility modifications that you might consider. service delivery modifications. I know some of your industries that won't be possible, especially when you get into massage therapy and stuff. You can't exactly do curbside service. So we're going to talk about ways that you can make sure that your operation is as safe as possible and meeting the minimum things that we need to meet. We have a section on the personal protective equipment and especially the face covering requirements and guidance. If you've been paying attention to the governor's broadcast, face coverings for employees in Ohio are mandatory. There are a list of exceptions, but you also have to have or be able to document why that exception is necessary. The caveat is it is optional for customers. Now, as an individual business, you could require that customers must have some kind of face covering as they enter your facility, but it is not required at the government level if they do not. So that is an individual decision you can make, what is best for your business. We certainly would recommend it, but that is, you have a little leeway there in exactly what you wish to require. So this guide is available there. One thing that I know some of you, and a lot of you are small businesses, so it might not apply as much. I'm going to scroll up, and sorry for the vertigo if some people get it with fast scrolling. We do have a resource for calculating the maximum occupancy for your facility. So the governor's guidance mentions do 50% of the fire code. And as soon as the governor said this, Toledo Fire and Rescue said, well, hold on, we don't actually calculate building occupancy. So they released a memo that, if I go there, it kind of talks about how to do it. It gives you the specific Ohio Revised Code section and how to estimate what your occupancy should be. So definitely look into that if you're not sure. If you have a smaller space, and you can't social distance properly, you're going to want to be minimizing how many people can be in that space at one time anyways. So that might be a non-factor for you. But if you have a slightly larger facility and you're looking for that guidance, that is within our guide there, available on our website. As you can also see, we have all sorts of other resources. For the restaurant side, the ServSafe has offered several free training modules for your staff, both on how to be safe during COVID and how to do certain things. Most of those, I believe, are offered in both English and Spanish, so those resources are there. The other thing is this page is being updated daily. There's not always new resources, but we do update parts of this page almost every single day. So check back every couple days, check back once a week at least. This guide is updated at least 3 times already. So as we learn the best science, the best methods, the requirements from the governor, we do update our guidance to reflect that and make sure you have the links directly to their websites, as well as you see Responsible Restart Ohio down here and so forth. So that is my initial introduction. We can talk about specific protocols for your business, PPE concerns, and all of that during the question and answer section. And I will turn it over to Jody if you want to talk about the restaurant side a little bit and what that might look like. And we will go from there. I am going to stop sharing. There we go. And Jody?
Good morning. I'm Jody Vaughn. I am the supervisor of the Food Safety Division. The inspectors that come out all report to me. So most of you probably are familiar at least with one of my sanitarians who come out to your business on a regular basis. And they'll be the ones that are going to continue to come out to your facilities and do their regular inspections. But in addition to that, they're going to be looking for any of the governor orders, the COVID-19 requirements that we currently have in place. And we're hoping that most of this is going to be all educational. Everybody knows they're supposed to be wearing masks. So, we are going to be looking for that. And there's going to be questions if people aren't wearing them. If people aren't social distancing, are you doing everything in your power to do it? No, you guys can't really do a whole lot about what's going on in the parking lot, but inside your store, you can definitely do something. As far as enforcement or people complaining about things, It's kind of like the essential, non-essential businesses. Ever since things have been open, we have been getting phone calls, and how we handle those are we try to discuss over the phone. We give people a call and ask what the procedures are. Now that we're doing more inspections, we might just stop out at your facility. It's not if someone's not wearing a mask, somebody's going to get shut down. That's not. We're gonna come in. We're gonna have a conversation. We're gonna give you a chance to correct whatever issues you're having, and then if it has to go beyond that, and then we'll deal with it then. But as long as everyone's trying their best, and everybody, like Brandon said, everybody's situation's a little bit different on how they're going to be able to set up. And I think the governor did a good thing with letting the restaurants decide what was best for them. He didn't say 50% occupancy. He said, what's going to work for you guys. So if you can put up a barrier or, social distance this way, then those are the things we're going to come in. We're going to verify that that's the best practice. If you have questions, you should be in contact with your sanitarian and ask them, they know your facilities and they can kind of visualize maybe what's going to help you if you do have specific questions. We're here as a resource as well as, doing our normal job for food safety. We just are trying to keep everybody safe, like Brandon said, with and kind of pulling in the COVID-19 stuff as well as our normal food safety requirements.
Great. Well, thank you all. Josh, do you want to, does anyone have any questions right now specific? They can be as specific as they want. I think Josh is going to take over the question portion.
Yeah, so we have the online chat open right now. So if you have any questions that you want to submit, you can please put those in the chat box, and I will then announce those, and then we'll hopefully get those answered. I appreciate Jody answering that, or talking about the shutdown threats and things like that. In the Anthony Wayne and Holland-Springfield markets, we've had some restaurants report irritable customers that are outside of the restaurant that have nothing to do with inside the restaurant, upset about social distancing not being put in place while they're trying to really take care of their inside of their business. So I'm glad to hear, Jody, that you're working with the restaurants and even our retail establishments in those things. So I'm still waiting to see if anybody has any questions to put in the chat.
I've got to unmute myself before I can talk. So while we're waiting for questions to come in too, we can talk about a few more of what you might expect. And we're not going to be in your facility with a measuring tape saying you're only 5.5 feet away, violation. But also, as Jody mentioned, restaurants do not have that 50% of fire code recommendation guidance. They are a little different in that way. Every other retail sector does, per the governor's guidance. So you do want to make sure that you figure out what the best practice is for your area. If we have any salons on the line, I know we had a question the other day on another call about double booking, and this might apply for other businesses as well. But as far as double booking would go, where you have one person getting colored highlights in a chair and another person getting a haircut, you want to make sure that you can appropriately keep those individuals apart, but you also want to make sure that no matter what business type you're running, that you are sanitizing your implements, your chairs, your tables, whatever you work with in between clients that come in. So if you're a stylist, your scissors, your combs, anything should be sanitized between people. You also should be washing your hands between people. So if you did, in the case of that double booking scenario, anytime you go between them, you probably should wash your hands in between. So I recommend getting a good moisturizing soap so your hands aren't prunes by the end of the day. But you want to make sure that you are really doing your best not to be that transmission factor between people who come in. And if they're wearing a mask and you're wearing a mask, a face covering rather, that's where that protective factor comes in from PPE. So the mask that I would wear going in protects you from me, and the mask you wear protects me from you from those respiratory droplets, which are the main way that COVID is transferred from infected individuals. One other piece I do want to touch on, and Jody certainly could elaborate on the restaurant side for this, is the aspect of wearing gloves. If you're wearing gloves, you really should be changing them unless they are specific to what your regular requirements are in the Ohio Revised Code or the business to operate. You really should be changing them between individuals. So some people feel that if I wear gloves when I'm handling point of sale, money and credit cards, that would be good. Well, it'll be good for the person wearing the gloves, but for everyone else, anything that touches those gloves stays on those gloves. And the reason we might not recommend doing that, especially at point of sale, is because this is a fragile virus. It's scary, it transmits very easily, but you can also get rid of it very easily. It has a protein on its surface that soap just binds to. And soap binds to it, and then it gets carried away with water. And that's why we recommend that frequent hand washing. So if you do have someone at point of sale, we recommend just washing or hand sanitizing between those operations rather than necessarily wearing gloves, because you run the risk of then you touch a counter with your glove, or then you touch your cash register, or then you touch a door handle, and you don't know what's on those gloves that you might be transmitting to those surfaces that could be missed later when you're sanitizing your facility. So that's just some high-level guidance on some of that PPE and the recommendations that we kind of make and what we see. I don't know, Jody, if you want to expand on the restaurant side of that at all, or if we've started to get some questions in that we can answer directly from the businesses.
So we do have some questions that are in. One question right now that is coming up in some of the private chat to me and outside of that. What is the suggested length of time a disposable face mask should be worn in restaurant or retail? What is the expectation? How long is that employee? Is that per comfort level, or an employee works a 6-hour shift, they're wearing it the whole time, or 12-hour shift? What is the general guideline there?
Jody, do you want to start, or would you like me to start with that?
You can go ahead, Brandon.
Okay. So with a face mask, employees should really be wearing them anytime they are in those common spaces, anytime that you have other individuals in the room. If you have a private office that you can close the door, or you're separate from other people, you could take your face mask off. And you really want to be careful when you're doing that to make sure you're taking it off from the ear straps or the straps behind. If you do happen to touch your face mask, wash your hands right after. Because again, you don't want to then touch a door handle or a counter and contaminate those if your face mask had anything on the outside of it. So generally speaking, whenever you're around others, whenever you're working over the products that you might give to customers or put together for them, you want to be wearing that face covering. There are those exceptions in the governor's requirements that if you have a certain medical condition where wearing a face covering would not be good for you, if you have breathing issues like that, there are those exceptions. But as Jody said, if we have to inspect or follow up on a complaint, we would be asking for, okay, why does your employee not have to wear this face covering, or what is the justification for it? So as far as comfort, you kind of want to make sure you're isolated. If you go to an isolated place and you need a 5-minute breather, I mean, feel free at that point. But when you're actually on, so to speak, when you're performing your service, your business, you want to be protecting your clients just in the hopefully doesn't happen event that you were infected and transmitting virus.
Great. That's really good feedback. I know in the restaurants that I have and our chamber members have, I mean, we are doing more breaks more often because that becomes very much warm and humid, you know, with that face covering, especially in the restaurants. We're going into a warmer season. It's going to be muggy. It's going to be hot. So I think restaurant retail, people that are in salon, massage, things like that. Another question we have is there's a consensus we are hearing that most community centers, family centers, senior centers are hopeful for June, but realistically are thinking July. This individual is interested in learning what Lucas County, specifically for Northwest Ohio, is thinking in regards to those returning back to some type of limited access.
So I want to make sure, because I caught a glance of a question that came in too, so I want to make sure I heard the question. So those recreational type facilities, you're asking when they're going to be coming back online, or what the expectation might be there?
Correct. That's what has been indicated.
Okay. That's a little bit more challenging to answer, and I certainly don't want to speculate on anything. The governor's guidance and the stay-at-home, or the Stay Safe Ohio order that Dr. Amy Acton has put in place does prohibit those at this time. And the governor is opening up sectors, but we can't say with any certainty exactly when other sectors will be open.
Okay.
Really, the two biggest dangers and why some of those facilities might be a little later in opening is the two biggest dangers with COVID is proximity and time. So the closer you are for the longer you are, the more likely an infected individual might transmit the virus to anyone else that they are within that close distance. And that's why we say that stay 6 feet apart as much as you can, unless you're with members of the same household doing something.
Okay.
But as far as organized sports, at this time, they are still restricted per the governor's order. And we do not know when they might start easing those restrictions.
All right. Up next is what is the best way for a business to handle customers that refuse to abide by protocols the business has set into place? There is rumblings out there that some people are worried about offending and losing customers to balance it all. So what do we do to handle customers that refuse to abide by these protocols that now these business owners and managers are now responsible for making sure to ensure safety of all customers?
Jody, do you want to talk about the restaurant side with that at all, or?
That's really a difficult one. I mean, you guys have to balance it between following the governor's orders and what will happen if you don't follow the governor's orders and, you know, offending your customers. But you are also keeping your staff safe by following these orders. And I think if we look at it from a public health perspective where, you know, following these rules are going to keep more people safe and have less people get sick, then hopefully we can encourage the people that are coming in. And I think if you make it, you know, you have all the signage up, you're ready to go. Most people are really good about following the rules. You're going to always have those people that aren't, but, you know, most people are going to follow it pretty well. And you guys just have to be strong in your stance to be able to, you know, and if they don't follow it, then we may get complaints, and then we will come out and ask you what you guys have handled or how you have handled it. And, you know, if you have done everything that you can to handle it, then there's not going to be much that can be done at that point.
And also think in terms of many businesses have no shirt, no shoes, no service type signs. I mean, I think if you're clear with your communication, as Jody mentioned, posting signage, and you make it clear, this is the way we will be doing business. We want your business, but you need to meet us halfway. That might help that expectation. Maybe if you have social media, start putting out, this is what's going to be required. I know in one of our epidemiologists at the department called me brave, but I know last week I had a dental appointment. The dentist just opened up. I went in. Passively, I observed their protocols. They were pretty good. They had some great safety protocols in place, but The point is, they communicated with me, said, we want you to wait in the car. Text us when you're here. We will tell you when to enter our facility. We will do this and that. And they laid out all those expectations beforehand. So I didn't show up, or their other clients didn't show up. We weren't congregating at the door. We weren't wondering, well, what do we do? Do we just go inside? There was that clear communication. And even though I work in public health, I mean, that's a comfort to know what the expectation is. So we feel that if you are very upfront, you try to get ahead of what your opening plans are and make sure your clients understand that we are operating in a different way right now. We can't do the same normal that we used to have. We need to find that new normal. I think that will go a long way. And as Jody said, the health department's going to work with you. We're not there to bring a hammer down. We want you to be operating. We want you to be safe. And we want the consumer to be safe as well.
That's great to hear. I know our businesses are very nervous about that in all of our chamber communities that we're working with, especially about the rogue customers that may just, never be satisfied. So the next question is, are face shields an appropriate substitute for face masks?
I've got this one. No, because we've gotten that question quite a bit. It needs to be something that covers the nose, the mouth, and the chin. And everything that we have read, and that just doesn't give enough protection if there was a cough or a sneeze from, if you want an extra added, you could wear a face mask as well as a shield. But I'm sure most staff are not going to want to have both of them on.
Anybody else have any questions for us that they can throw into the chat while we're waiting? Another thing I think, Brandon, Jody, might be important for us to do before we end our call today at some point, if we have more questions come through, is really hit those top 5 needs of business must have as a protocol again. I think that might be a nice little primer towards the end of this. And then obviously, Brandon, Jody, Ben, if there's any other things that you think from your past several days being in the markets and some of the other things that are coming up or popping up that you feel you should share with us to make our participants aware of that today, let me know.
So I received a private question that I'll address from Amanda Nye, and it regards a dance studio. So the governor's order, the Stay Safe order, does restrict gatherings to 10 individuals. And Amanda asked, are they allowed to hold classes outside for 10 people if they're maintaining social distancing? They've seen some fitness classes being done that way, but they really wanted that clarification. If you are maintaining your distance, you're outside, and I would say probably still wearing a face covering if your dancers can, that would still be a recommended practice. Per the spirit of the governor's order, that does not sound like it would be prohibited to me. Again, though, you want to be careful. I would go even more than 6 feet if you could distance. When you're bringing people from other households together, that is where you're going to have that risk of transmission, because the only way this virus spreads is when we group together and directly transmit it. So you want to be very careful of that. You probably don't want to share any materials between your clients that would be coming together in that way. And I can also add, in the salon perspective, some have product cases just lined up where customers can come in and pick up a product. You probably want to make it an employee-only access. Maybe put a barrier in front so they can see them but not touch them, because you're not going to know what they touched, what they picked up necessarily if you're busy giving a haircut. The same with dance. I mean, I don't, from my perspective, I doubt you're actually exchanging a bunch of things when you're dancing. You're just physically moving and getting that, going through that class curriculum. But you want to make sure that you're really keeping that distance, really doing the best you can to make sure people are not hanging out close together, dancing close together at this time until we get further updated guidance from the governor from the available body of science that we use to inform what the best practices are. I hope that answered your question, Amanda. If not, please feel free to let me know, and we can handle it offline too if there's more specific details you want addressed.
Okay, we got another question. Brandon, this one's for you. How should we continue to modify services based on customer feedback that you have been receiving? You'd mentioned a survey already and how people are feeling about going back out in the community. Any more you can elaborate on that?
Yes, I can. So Great Lakes Marketing through the Toledo Chamber, I think, did a customer perspective survey. So they wanted to see how comfortable and safe customers felt they'd be going back to businesses when they reopened. That will be on our website today. It's not at the moment. We had to wait for it to be sent over, but that will be live today. Probably not too long after this call, but definitely by 4 p.m. So feel free to check back in after our 4 p.m. update because it will be there. I know the Great Lakes Marketing is also planning to do another survey in a couple of weeks to see how those perceptions have changed. So if customers are starting to see that you've put barriers up at the cash register, the point of sale, to protect them and your workers, if you are wearing face masks, and obviously every industry is going to be a little different. I only saw an initial shorter version of that survey. I know it's about 15 pages in total, so there's likely a lot more great information in there. But it was very sector dependent on how confident consumers felt like they were going to come back to right away. And some of those areas involved those personal services, salons, and such, that people need haircuts. They're going crazy with hair down to their toes at this point, being in quarantine. I gave myself a self haircut. I don't know what it looks like to you guys, but I'm definitely looking forward to when I can get my own again from a professional and not my own hand. But consumer confidence will vary. And the thing to understand too is it's a snapshot in time. So it could be that day, something could come out the next day and radically shift how comfortable people are going to any particular type of business. But we will have their survey up. You can peruse their results later today, and there will be another one in about 2-ish weeks. I don't know the exact time frame, but we will certainly put it on our website as soon as we have it available to do so. Was there anything I missed in that question?
No, I think that was pretty clear, and obviously out of the 12 or 13 of us that chose to show our faces today, I think the rest of the 51 participants obviously are still waiting for their haircuts and their abilities to get in the salons too. So much to be had with that, and we think we're all excited, including myself. Tomorrow's haircut day at 12, so excited about that. Any other questions that we have? We have a few more minutes. Like I said, we want to go through those top 5 needs a business must have. Just reference that document once again, and then furthermore, make sure that you're working with your local Chamber of Commerce to get your PPE. Many of us have direct with our members that we're working with to provide access to you to get those masks and those personal protective. I know some restaurants are working locally to get the shields and retailers as well. So make sure you're reaching out to your chamber. We're sourcing a lot of those out collectively as a team, but then also with our individual members. So.
And I'll add something about face coverings versus surgical masks versus N95s, because everyone's heard all those terms. There was a question that we received recently this week of, well, which one is best, and should we be trying to have everybody do surgical masks because we don't know if they're washing their face coverings as far as consumers. And the general guidance we would give is surgical masks, N95s, are still mostly reserved for the medical sector. If you have a supplier that can give them and you want to use them, there's certainly no restriction for that. But we don't think you'll have a reliable supply chain if you're trying to get those higher grade masks. And face coverings, if everyone is wearing them or almost everyone is wearing them, really will provide an appropriate level of cumulative protection between everyone who's in that shared space. Because The idea is just to capture any of those exhalations, any of those droplets that are coming from your nose or coming from your mouth. Face coverings are also less likely to make you rub your face, touch it a little bit. And anytime you do touch your face, touch your mask, you want to be washing your hands. But really, you don't necessarily need those higher grade level of masks or coverings unless it's required by your industry, or you have access to them and you feel personally more comfortable with them. But we still recommend face coverings for the vast majority of both employees and consumers that might come into your shops.
Okay. Kristen, that's what we have for questions.
Great. Well, I think Bethany is going to wrap things up for us. So
thank you everyone for joining us. I appreciate the collaboration that we had today between all of the chambers that joined us today. Thank you to Brandon, Ben, and Jody for joining us as well. And please remember, as members of the chambers, that we are here to help you navigate this together. So please use us as a resource. We will collect all the resources that Ben, Brandon, and Jody mentioned and make sure that those are cumulative for you and that we get them out to you as well. We'll also make sure that this goes, this is being recorded. So if there is anything that you missed or want to pass it on to other people that you work with or other businesses, it will be available to you as well. I thank you all very much for joining us. I hope you have found it beneficial. We look forward to presenting different things for you again at another time. So have a wonderful day. And again, if there's anything you need, we will get with you as individual chambers or make sure the contact numbers for Ben, Brandon, and Jody are available to you. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.
thank you, everybody. Thanks, Brandon, Ben, and
Our pleasure, truly.
Jody.